Today, we're looking at Diamine's Emerald. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Diamine's Emerald, as you would expect, is a green ink. And to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a fountain pen Revolution Himalaya with their flex nib to take my notes for this video. Before we get to writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple Up first is chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And as a green, this is really interesting because I see this light purple on the bottom that pushes its way up. We see a little bit of yellow at the bottom of the green, then a darker green, and the blue across the top. Really quite interesting, which could be what makes this an interesting green to look at. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And it looks exactly the same. Being that it looks so much the same, I expect that there's no real hold on or resistance to this ink. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it performs rather well considering how the rest of this goes. The second H is what makes me worried about using it in a note-taking situation. The second H would become illegible, and I always worry about losing important things that I might write, like grocery lists. Water completely reactivates, starts pulling this up off the page. The only thing we do see left is a very light hint towards that purple and some very light greens that are there, but we do see some left behind. Now, pen flush, although it moved on the paper, did everything that water did, and there's areas that picked up even more where we can see some of the dots of the rhodia paper through it. At the very top, right underneath the word emerald, we see a lot more of this ink came up, which makes me feel pen flush is as far as I would need to go to clean this out of my pen. Now, bleach, as would be expected, completely obliterates it. There should be no reason to use bleach to get this ink from your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.5. Diamine's Emerald has a viscosity of 2.02, which makes it a faster ink. A wetter ink. It has more flow to it. To find my dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and rhodia paper with the extra fine and medium nib. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Diamine's Emerald has an average dry time of 15 seconds, making it normal. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. Always a good start. I don't know that we've actually had bleeding through on a Clairefontaine. I might sacrifice the ink if it bled through on Clairefontaine. We'll see. 1.1 has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. It doesn't really offer any shading with the 1.1, but that's sort of the oddball in some of this ink. With the extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, and lovely shading the whole way through. This is a great color green with adequate shading all the way. It is not a standout green shading ink, but it is adequate. It is very nice, and it is a pretty color. 9 seconds to dry. When we go to the medium, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Yes, absolutely adequate shading the whole way through. And I don't want to make adequate sound like it's bad. It's not bad. It means it's perfectly good. It's just a matter of if it's what you want. Very pretty color.
14 seconds to dry. The extra fine and the medium scrubby showed us color variation, and we did get it in the writing sample. The smear test, you could probably recover it. So we look at Tomoe River, which gives us no bleeding. It does give us ghosting. The 1.1 gives no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. It does offer shading areas. The H in the B in brown, the K in quick, the X in fox, the R in over. Adequate shading the whole way through. It actually does very well when we consider I have problems seeing some of the shading come through like I would hope on the Tomoe River paper. 16 seconds to dry. Almost looks like a 10 on camera. 16 seconds to dry. Medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We're still getting adequate shading throughout. Like quick, it goes dark, it gets light at the top of the cue, it gets light it gets dark again, it gets light at the beginning of the hoop, dark at the bottom of the hoop, light in the up part of the hoop. Very nice shading throughout the writing. It's really quite nice. If I can get that cue on there. Come on, camera. Focus is sometimes funny for me. We do get some adequate shading through this, even when we're dealing with Tomoe River paper. 22 seconds to dry, which is not unmanageable on this paper. Now the scrubby lied. The scrubby for the extra fine and the medium showed no color variation, but we did get color variation through the writing, but you do not get to recover this if you smear it. So I go to Rhodia. Rhodia gives us no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 gives no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. It does give shading. A lot of shading. It's very nice, and it's a pretty color. I think my only problem with this is I have a green that shades really well that I love. And sometimes when you love a color enough that you're on the bottle and you've been on your second or third, and that's where a lot of times when I'm on a bottle of ink, I'm actually onto a second bottle or a third bottle. I tend to go through that first bottle very fast. Nothing on this. It's a pretty color. It shades really well. Something's not connecting with me where it said, yes, I need a bottle of that. 11 seconds to dry. The medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Yes, plenty of shading and very nice. Very nice shading. I don't understand why I'm not drawn to this ink. 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby shows us some color variation. Doesn't show us nearly the color variation that we see in the writing. The smear test says you could likely recover it. So I test this on Rhodia or on the yellow Rhodia because I like seeing what it does. No bleeding, no ghosting, not expected. Let's look at the color change. None. But does it perform as well on yellow paper? The 1.1 has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. It is showing some shading. It is not showing as much shading that we got with the white paper, which is not unexpected. You know, you lose some of those tones with the yellow background. Extra fine. No feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Lovely shading the whole way through. In brown, in over, in jumps. It's really nice. I wish I could say, yes, I want a bottle of this ink because it is very nice. It's 11 seconds to dry. The medium, we get just as good a performance as we had with the white paper. No feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Lovely shading the whole way through. If you like Diamine and you like green, go for it. I like Diamine. I like green. I just have a green already. Scrubby, same thing. It doesn't show us as much color variation as we do get in the writing, but it is there. The smear test, you could likely recover this. So I wanted to test this on original Crown Mill. Very nice paper. And that's, it's got spots that's seeping. It's not bleeding. It's got spots of seepage. So if you've ever had a bandage that's, had quite a cut underneath, and you see that seep of blood, that's sort of what it looks like. Not red, but it's seeping. It's wanting to fully come through. It's not. I don't count what goes on in the scrubby. The 1.1, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Crown Mill killed the shading on this ink. Why Crown Mill? Extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Yes, we get shading with the extra fine. The shading is back because it's great here and it's fantastic. And it is really stand out on the Crown Mill with the extra fine. In the Q, we get 3 different shades in the Q alone. K gets much darker. Tons of shading right in brown. Individual words, tons of shading. It looks fantastic. Only 4 seconds to dry. We go to the medium, and it gets darker. We get problems. No feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. But Crown Mill once again sent out their assassin and killed the shading on this. 8 seconds to dry. When we look at the scrubby, the extra fine shows us a lot of color variation, and we got tons of it, and it looks beautiful. I look forward to writing my next letters with this ink. It looks great. Medium, no color variation, none. The assassins killed the shading on this ink. But this smear you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. So every now and then I like to pull out the limon paper and hope to find a second ink that'll work. And this one's not it. We get plenty of bleeding. The bleeding doesn't touch the page underneath, but a lot of bleeding. And it's such... I mean, even, look, that's away from the microphone. Full arm's length away from the microphone. And we still get... Anyway, 1.1. Feathering. Like, wow. Yeah, that looks like a science experiment. I mean, I'm going to say that it's there on the extra fine. It's not showing as much on camera. It's there on the extra fine. It's not horrible. The medium, it's a science experiment. Anyway, 1.1, it has feather, it has spread, it has no halo, has no sheen, has no shade. The extra fine, it has feather, it has no spread, it has no halo, no sheen, and no shade. The medium has feathering all over the place. It has spread, it has no halo, it has no sheen, it has no shade. If you are walking along in a zombie apocalypse and this is the only ink you have and this is the only paper you have, don't waste your ink on this paper. I'm not trying to sound extreme. That's all I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Diamine's Emerald, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now, being a very nice green ink, I wanted to go after a nice red, but I was thinking a little more subdued red. Kind of a dusty red. So I went to Birmingham Pen Company's Bloomfield Red because they give that nice dusty red color. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Diamine's Emerald? It's inspired me to write a new book called 50 Shades of Green because it shades so much and so different with every nib on paper. Now, it's going to be in a supporting role, and it's about a woman discovering all the different shades of green. It's not an exciting book. This is a great green ink. It has everything that I love about what great green inks can do. It is one of the standards for me for what is great as a green. Have I said great enough? Because it's great. Thanks for watching.